This is John with Cigar Trends Magazine. I'm here with Randy and Danny at Tobacco Plaza here in Great Neck off of Middle Neck Road, just south of Northern Boulevard. So you guys, how you doing? How's the year been? And just tell me a little about the place.
It's been great. Our cigar store is very conducive to hanging around and lounging. We get to know everybody. It's very much like a family. People always say when they come here that they forget their cares a little bit. It's sort of a home away from home, and they can just relax for a few hours, which most people would say it's hard to find a place to do that. It's like they used to, in the barber shops used to be that way in the old days of Brooklyn. All the men would go there and hang out during the day, and they tell about it. And the cigar store has become that. And so that's what we have. We have a place to relax and to meet people and to talk business, or just have some fun, watch the game, smoke a great cigar. And the main thing about this store, or what's great about this store, is that it's all owners, and everybody who works here knows about cigars in a very big way. We all love cigars, and we also are enthusiastic about all the new stuff and what's coming out. And now, particularly in this last couple of years, the cigars are better than they've been in decades. I mean, I'd say they've been probably since like the 80s. They haven't been this good, because all the companies are really, they know they're selling to an educated public. So they realize they have to have a really good cigar out there, and something special, not just a couple of tobacco leaves rolled together. This is something that's blended, that's crafted, many hours just of sampling and trying and putting it together, and there's a process of making one cigar. They say it goes through 400 hands before it reaches your hand. Between the seeds being planted by hand, between people cultivating the fields, cutting the tobacco plant down, to hanging barns, to all these things, it goes through 400 hands before it reaches you. Amazing. So it's an entirely handmade product. And people who make them, at least the companies that we carry and the companies that we promote, are guys who, their families, they care about the product, and they have their name on the product. So if you get a Padron cigar, Jorge Padron wants to make a cigar that someone's going to be proud to know him for making, and saying, I know George Padron, he makes my cigar. He makes it thousands of miles away. When it gets to me, it's fantastic, and George knows this. And if you got a bad one, he would lose sleep over it. You can't say that about any other company. Very few companies in the world, maybe some wine makers, maybe some chefs who feel that way, but very few manufactured products do the owners of the company lose sleep if one person doesn't like it. These guys are different. This is their baby. It's got their name on it. They take a lot of pride in what they do. And that's kind of how we feel about our store. We take a lot of pride in it. We want people to come here and get away from it all and feel they have a place to go where they're, you can walk into Cheers, they go, hey Norm! It's like here, hey Larry, what's going on? Hey! So that's kind of what we feel like. And of course we have all the football games, and we're open until midnight, and we have the lounges and the chairs, it's very comfortable. But it's the atmosphere too. It's not just a place to go, it's a place to be.
And tell me a little more about the trends that you're talking about in cigars nowadays. Is it like hand-rolled versus machine-rolled, or is it like non-label versus premium?
Well, machine-rolled is out. That's out a long time. It has to be hand-rolled. If the cigar's not hand-rolled, you're not smoking a good quality cigar. It's going to be made by a big conglomerate company. It's like if Coca-Cola makes a new diet soda. They don't care. Cigars is handmade. It's got to be handmade. And only handmade cigars generally are good cigars, with a few exceptions, but very few.
And
so it's got to be handmade.
What country do you think is leading the way right now in cigar? Like basically in cigar, who's leading the way?
Well, there's three.
Yeah, well, there's three, and not in any particular order: Nicaragua, Honduras, and Dominican.
Okay.
It's the quality control is amazing now in those three countries. The soil is fabulous. The seeds, a lot of the seeds came over from Cuba. A lot of the rollers came over from Cuba, and they just
the blender.
Yeah, and they're doing an amazing job in those three countries, and they really care about the product. So the quality is, you're not going to get a plug cigar. I'm not going to say ever, because that's the beauty about these cigars. They are handmade, and an extra leaf can be put in, or something could happen. And that does happen, and that's nice to know that they're handmade, and that does happen once in a blue moon. But they take such pride in the cigars that these three countries in my opinion, I mean, I'd rather smoke any one of those three over a Cuban.
Excellent. That was kind of going to be my follow-up question, like Cubans versus cigars that are around the world. Like you said, most of the seeds have moved to Dominican Republic and the rollers, so you're going to get the same kind of product, only without the limitations.
You get a better product now. Years ago it was different. When the only good cigars, really, the few really great cigars that were out were Cuban. There was nothing else to get. It wasn't like, oh, you know, Cuban's a lot of hype. Now, yes, that's true. Years ago, no, the only cigars, the only true really great cigars were out of Cuba. But when Castro took over, all the guys who were making cigars there for generations fled. So they went to Nicaragua, they went to the Dominican Republic, they went to Honduras, and then smaller quantity went to Miami. And
so the hype basically became outdated by the legend of a good cigar, basically.
That's exactly right. It became outdated because of the legend of a great cigar was always Cuban. But now those guys all left. So they took with them the seeds. It's amazing to think about a guy took. What do you took the seeds? He took like bales and bales of seeds. Tobacco seeds are tiny. They're smaller than peppercorns. They're maybe a third the size of a peppercorn. They're very tiny. So you can take a bag of seeds like this, and that's enough for 50 acres worth of farm. And then when it grows, you harvest the new seeds coming out of the flowers, and so you have the same genetic material, but you have it grown elsewhere. And so they literally took the seeds from Cuba, so the same tobacco, the various genuses of tobacco they took with them, and they cultivated them elsewhere. And so the tobacco they're making now is amazing. And really the technology that they have in terms of what they can do with it has made it all that much better. And when I say technology, I don't mean necessarily things being machine made, but there's certain processes where they take tobacco and they age it. And while they're aging it, it goes through certain stages of fermentation, of sweating, all these terms of aging, of spinning, of hanging, of all these things. Well, as technology's gotten better, they're able to build better facilities for less money. And so they are making these huge facilities, fabulous facilities, and the tobacco is staggering how good it is. I mean, we've been going down there for a long time, taking these trips to the manufacturers. And you go down, you look at the fields, and you look at the farms and the factories, and the change just over 15 years is staggering what they've done. They've made everything clean and nice, and the factories, some of them, you could eat off the floors. I mean, it's tobacco, it's leaves of tobacco. You'd expect there to be, you know, dust and no, these places are pristine. They really, like Dan was saying, quality control. These guys, at every stage, it's really impressive. And the proof is in the pudding. You smoke cigars now, and with a few exceptions, there are so many better cigars now than there were 10, 15 years ago that it's amazing. You talk about the trends. So, I mean, Danny can tell you about the trends in tobacco, about the new things that they're doing.
Well, the trend, and not that the manufacturers love it, but the consumers love it. The consumers are going bigger. Where Cuban cigars, which you know is the original area, were all thin Lanceros, smaller ring gauge cigars. Now they're making 60s, 65s, 66s, and 70 ring gauges. Now I know for a fact that the bigger ring gauges sell better in the East, and the West still like smaller ring gauges, but they're even getting more popular in the West Coast, and cigars are getting bigger and longer. And it's just, the trend is going bigger and darker and stronger. But they're still making the Connecticut shade wrappers with the lighter binders and fillers. You know, from Connecticut to Maduro, it's just, the cigars, these manufacturers are now taking seeds, mixing seeds and making new plants. They're just
like a hybrid.
Yeah,
almost.
They're just doing amazing things with the tobacco. And it's, how can they top the last cigar they made? And that's where they're taking their pride.
All right, I'm here with Dan. He's one of the patrons here at Tobacco Plaza here in Great Neck. Tell me a little bit more about what you like to smoke and what you like to drink accompanied with when you do have a drink occasionally with your cigar.
I tend to go for fuller-bodied cigars. I want to know I've had a cigar. I want to have something to think about. Want it to surprise me, and I tend to drink them with strong. I smoke them, I should say, with strong drink. I take them with single malt scotches or brandies or cognacs. Typically, if I'm having a lighter alcohol, I wouldn't have it with wine because they're going to compete too much, and I wouldn't have it with a light drink because they're going to compete too much. Okay? So I like strong cigars. I have it with a strong drink.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.